In today's episode, let's talk about belly fat and fear. Wait till you see what these two things have in common. You're listening to the Joshua Mentality. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Joshua Mentality. This is where conversations about life purpose take place. And I'm excited for another week. It's been I cannot believe we are already in February. Like already in February, I'm already starting to feel the pressure of Valentine's Day. That's always a little weird holiday. Is that even a holiday? Is Valentine's Day a holiday? That's what I want to know. I need to get like a chat line on this thing so people can help me stay informed. Because if it is not an official holiday, I would like to start the objection and the petition to get rid of this darn thing. Because it's all one-sided, especially for husbands. We have all this pressure where we got to figure out what we need to bring home so that we get whatever amount of points that are available for us on this quote unquote special day. Y'all weren't expecting the soapbox this early, were you? I know you were not. But that's how I'm feeling today. I'm the time is going by so fast. I feel like I made it past Christmas and then birthdays, and I thought I was in the clear, man. And then what do you know? Here comes freaking Valentine's Day. Whose idea was this? I need to speak to the manager immediately. All right, y'all, we're gonna get into some what you came here for. Hopefully, we'll have you leave here with some practical ways that you can walk out, live out your life purpose. But before we do that, I think it's worth mentioning that this is also a fun week. I have to give you something fun now that I've already gone off the hinges with Valentine's Day. This is a fun week because it's Super Bowl week, and I am a major sports fan. And by sports, I mean basketball and football, really. Those are only really two sports that I'm allowed to follow, because if I were to follow any other sport at the pace that I follow these two, I'd be in trouble from a time management and maybe from a marital management perspective as well. But that's something I like to give a little bit of insight into me and the things that I enjoy, and that's one of the things I love, football and basketball. I'm from a small town, so football has always been like the thing. All right, so big week this week. I want to know who you got. Put it in the comments. Let's get a nice little friendly war going on if you're a Chiefs fan or if you are a Buccaneers fan. Me personally, I wish both teams could lose because they've just had way too much success. But that's the bitter Cowboys fan in me, all right? So we'll talk about that another day. For today, let's jump into today's conversation. And as many of you know, I'm a new dad. Been a dad for about 10 months. And one thing I've noticed, all the other parents, you probably figured this out already, but this little boy has no fear. Like, he will literally be on the couch. We can be chilling, hanging out, and he will just decide out of nowhere he wants to face plant towards the floor. I'm like, what are you doing? If I'm not here to catch you, do you realize how much pain you will inflict on yourself? Nose diving off of the couch? Or he doesn't know how to walk yet. Another thing he likes to do is instead of like learning from crawling to walking gingerly and then running, this boy is already trying to go from 0 to 60. He will take off running even though his feet can't keep up with his mind. And I think there's a lot to learn in that. Because what that reminds us and what it tells us is that we are not born with fear. I want you right now to think about whatever thing in your life that if you're really honest about it, the reason why you haven't done that thing or engaged that thing or you kind of keep putting it off or it overwhelms you every time you think about it is because at the root, kind of bevying underneath the surface, is fear. But let me ask you a question. What if you were able to channel that innate being, like the original factory settings that you came into life with? Well, maybe it's not as reckless as, say, my son's lack of fear, but maybe it was somewhere in the middle. How much more would your life, how much more would that decision that you've been sitting on change in that case? How much longer would you allow fear to really drive your decisions, to drive your growth, to drive your confidence? I'll put it this way. If fear was the physical image of a robber, when you got to the end of your life and you were in the grave, or you're in the grave at the end of your life, how much of your dreams and the goal that was inside of you will fear be walking away with? How many of those things that you so in the bottom of your heart wanted to do and accomplish, and they were rooted in great soil because they weren't about you. It was about serving other people or serving other things. But yet you get to the end and fear in this black cloak with a big bag is walking away with it. Saying, yep, another heist, another person to the grave, not ever seeing these things come to life because I stood in the way. I be in fear. I want to rev you up today because I want to know, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I used to have this concept when I was single, and it was around the idea of dating and getting to know other people. And I was in college at this time, and actually this started way back in high school, but I used to always say, the worst someone can tell you when you are, trying to probe for courtship, the worst they can tell you is what? No? Really? You mean that's the worst? I've gotten up all this courage to go to someone who I have, high admiration for, and you're telling me the return or the risk factor there is that they can turn and say no? I'll still have my mind. I'll still have my bearings. I'll still be here. I'm not going to die after that. So the worst case scenario is a no. Oh, I'm going after it. I'm going to shoot my shot. As the younglings say today, I'm going to shoot my shot. But what happens to that mentality when it comes to the things in our lives that are being held back by fear? I want you to apply that same mentality, because here's the worst thing that can happen: failure. The worst thing that can happen to you for going after whatever that is in your life, whatever that is that will take you one more step towards your destiny. The risk factor is failure. Now, I understand the level of failure needs to be analyzed, and that's the responsible thing to do. I'm not telling you not to do that, especially if you have a family or you have others who rely on you. Yes, it's important to be responsible. Yes, that's I don't want to be mistaken by anyone. But I do want to drive home the point that if you do that assessment and you don't lose your family, you don't lose any of the things that are really valuable in life, but the only thing that you lose is maybe a shot to the ego, a shot to the gut, because it sucks at times when we fail. If that's the only thing, the only result of you going after that thing, then do it. Do it. So you lose a little money. You can always make money. But what you can't make up for is when that robber, when the thief comes in the form of fear and takes everything that your life was meant for. All the development that you could have had, all the growth that you could have had that would have manifested a person that you wouldn't even recognize if you met him on the street, but it's you. Because it's a version of you that decided to grow. Or it's a version of you that owns that business that you have put off for so long. We got to get rid of the fear. I was talking to a good friend of mine today, actually, and we were laughing about this topic because I always like to throw out sometimes it gets really weird with some of my analogies, and this one was probably one of the weirder ones, but it made sense. And I was explaining to this friend that, hey, I used to have abs, man. I used to, before all this dad bod stuff, I used to be able to, without having to pull the fat down, used to be able to see the abs. I used to be there. But, with a few bad choices in the holidays, I have to really strain to get this, to see them underneath all the fat still. And the point is, I made a comment to this person that a certain skill set or strength that they had, and their response back to me was, no, I used to have that. I used to be consistent. And without even thinking, my brain just fired and said, no, you didn't used to be consistent. You are still consistent. It's just like my abs are still there. They're just underneath the fat. And the same is true when it comes to that person's consistency. It's just underneath fear. And the same is true when it comes to your growth. It's just under the overwhelming fear of you seeing the end picture and how far away that seems like it is, how far away it seems like the end result is. But don't get caught up in that. Just like, in order for my abs to return, I got to do it one workout at a time. The same is true for you. You uncover these things that are written with fear by working it out one step at a time, by showing up one day at a time. This podcast is a great example. There's some weeks where I have no idea what value is the right value to bring for the week. But I show up. And I put forth the time. And before you know it, the brain starts to churn and work out. And the light bulb starts to flicker a little bit. And the energy starts to flow. And the passion starts to resonate. And before I know it, I can see the people on the other end of this microphone. I can see their purpose. I can see them needing someone in their corner, shouting for their destiny, shouting for their life purpose, their value. That's how this thing works. That's how you work out the fear. You take the overwhelming mountain, you get in front of that bad boy, and you take one step. One step. But Joshua, I don't know how to do this. One step. But I've never tried this thing before. I don't even know where to begin to do. One step. One step. You'd be amazed how much is within us, how resourceful we are, how easy thoughts and things begin to flow when we just commit to showing up and taking one step. So here's a few questions I want you to consider before we close out this episode. The first I would ask is, when's the last time you showed up? Yeah, you keep saying that you don't know how to do this, or you having trouble figuring out this overwhelming thing. I got it. But tell me, when's the last time you showed up? In other words, when's the last time you got to a quiet place, put 2 hours on the clock and said, you know what? If I leave here with nothing, I'm at least going to sit here for 2 hours and try to chisel away at this thing. Churn the fear down so I can get underneath that and see what's in me. When's the last time you showed up? What I found in my life, for instance, one of the things I've wanted to do for years is write a book. And what I've discovered is that when I actually show up and put aside the time, I'm never left void. I never leave with empty-handed. The light goes off, the wheels start to churn, and I start to get underneath that fat, that fear. I'll never forget it. Just a few weeks ago, I was writing for this book at Panera. And I'm sitting there in public writing, and my emotions begin to rise. Because I was it's like in that zone. I don't know if some of you, I mentioned this movie before, but that movie Soul, where the guy, he's playing the piano and he gets into this zone and like everything around him disappears and he's up in the clouds. That's how I felt in that moment writing this section of the book. And I stopped for a second and I just thought to myself, how often would I experience this if I just showed up? How much would you discover about those things you think are so overwhelming, that you think are so beyond your skill set, that you think are not there anymore if you just showed up? Show up, and I guarantee you won't be left empty-handed. Show up, and I guarantee you'll find something about yourself you didn't even know. How often are you showing up? The next question has to do with your mentality, your outlook. So I would ask you, are you showing up with expectancy? And for some of you, that might be a new word for you. So I want to give you a definition of what expectancy is or how it's defined. So what better place to go to than Google? Let's just find a random definition here. And I'm reading this verbatim right to you. The idea of being expectant is defined as having or showing an excited feeling that something is about to happen, especially something pleasant and interesting. I'm going to read that again. I want you to really get this in your mentality. Being expectant, showing up with expectancy, is having or showing an excited feeling that something is about to happen, especially something pleasant and interesting. So it's not just showing up and thinking, oh, let's see what happens. No. It's showing up knowing that this thing that I've been held back by fear for so long, this thing is what I was created for. This dream was only given to me. It's a special gift wrapped up by God himself, given to me. I know that because I can't stop thinking about it. I know that because when I think about it and I think about it coming to fruition, I see other people blessed by it. So I know it's a dream rooted in good soil, like we talked about in a few episodes back about dreams. So you know what? Because I know these things, I'm showing up with expectancy. I'm expecting that these 2 hours I put into this thing, I'm leaving with value. I tell you all at the end of every episode that success is your destiny. That's not just some cute tagline. That is rooted in expectancy. Someone that knows that their life purpose is rooted in success, knows that when I show up to fulfill the success that my life was called for, the success in areas that matter, like my family, my faith, my dreams, my leadership, when I show up in those areas of value, something has to happen. Something good is about to happen. And for some of you listening to this, maybe you have shown up, but you've missed that second part of showing up with expectancy because you don't see yourself at the level of value that you were created. For some of you, you don't believe that success is your destiny. But until that shifts in your mentality and you begin to believe that everything that was placed inside of you is all that you need. It may be under layers of something, fear, whatever. It may be hidden underneath something, but it's there. And every time we show up and we show up with expectancy, we pull back the layer. We put the layer to the fire. And that's the breakthrough into fulfillment. That's living a fulfilling life. Some people equate fulfillment in life to a monetary value. But can I tell you, there are some people who don't have millions of dollars but are living a super fulfilling life because they've broken through. They wake up every day with expectancy. They show up every day. And so today I want to call you out on those two items. How often are you showing up? And when you show up, how expectant are you? The danger in not doing these two things is, again, we will get to the end of this thing and we will allow the robber that is fear to walk away in a nice big black bag. I want you to picture this with everything that our life was meant for, but held back by fear. I want you this week, and as we move forward, to start peeling away on those layers. Start doing some, proverbial sit-ups. Work it out. Show up for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Start somewhere. Start to turn your mentality around. Remember why you're going after what you're going after. Remember that everything that has been placed inside of you is there. It's all that you need. And show up with that expectancy that you are going to push past the fear and push into the destiny and success that your life was meant for. All right? I hope you found this talk and conversation to be encouraging. I hope you're pumped because I'm pumped for you. So do me a favor, before you head out, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you back here next week, reminding you that success is your destiny.